Folks, it's game over in Iran. The Iran war is practically over. 24 hours ago, the most important man in Iran got assassinated by Israel. His name is Ali Larijani. He has been running Iran since last June, during the last war. And basically, he was the CEO of Iran, So you had the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who was killed on February 28th. So Ali Khamenei, you can think of him as like a chairman, the big picture person. But all the daily operations and coordinating between the numerous, countless organizations in Iran were all done by Ali Larijani. So this guy, was the head of the Security Council of Iran. And before that, he was the Speaker of the Parliament for 12 years. He belonged to a special committee that advised the Supreme Leader. And he's a veteran, he's been involved with the IRGC and stuff since 1977. So, what is that? 50 years, almost 50 years of working within the Iranian apparatus. And the reason that his death is even more important than Ali Khamenei is that the Iranian structure is very, very complex. Okay. So since 1979, the biggest fear of Khomeini, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, was a coup, because that's how he came to power, right? He did a coup and he got rid of the Shah of Iran. So he was very paranoid. And in order to make sure that there's no coup possible within the system, he created a very complex system of all the military stuff. For example, Iran has its standard military and then the IRGC, which is the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Council. So that was a parallel military in case that the regular military tries to stage a coup, the IRGC will fight the regular military and will stop the coup. And then the IRGC, to make sure that the IRGC doesn't do a coup on the supreme leader, Khomeini and Khamenei, they gave IRGC huge control over the Iranian economy. So the IRGC, nepotist, very corrupt organization, they run 50% of Iran's economy. Okay, so they control the banks, telecom, seaports, blah, blah, blah. But there is a lot of internal competition and power struggle, right? So this was a deliberate structure to make sure that no one group or one person can do a coup. But what it also means that it's you need a very, very smart person with a lot of experience, with a lot of people skills to manage all these various organizations. And that was Ali Larijani. And he was killed along with his son. And then also a Basij commander who had been the leader for 6 years. He was also killed along with 12 other of his people at a different location. So his name is Soleimani. So this guy, Soleimani, he controlled Basij, the paramilitary group, which is under the IRGC. And the whole purpose of the Basij is to control the people, okay, the regular people, to make sure that they don't revolt against the supreme leader. Because most people in Iran do not like the supreme leader do not even like the Islamic Republic. Okay, they want to be secular. In various polls by Western organizations, only 11% of the Iranians approve of the supreme leader and the theocratic regime. So the Iranians are very secular people, right? Like if you go back and look at the photos and videos from the 1960s and the 70s, Iranians were very liberal, very progressive, very modern. All the women were wearing skirts. They had dance clubs, and women were driving cars, and women were fully equal in terms of political rights, social rights, marriage rights, all of that, right? So all of that was destroyed by the Sharia law introduced in 1979. So a huge population of Iran are very dissatisfied, and that's why they're always like cheering the bombing, right? You see these videos on social media, and these Iranians are like, "Thank you, Mr. Trump," and they show victory signs to bombing. They shout Javid Shah, right? So they tried to do a protest in January, but 30, 40,000 people were massacred by the besieged. So these guys would go with machine guns on pickup trucks, and they would just slaughter the Iranians. So a lot of people are just waiting for the right opportunity. And now, what the Israeli drones are doing is that they are flying over Tehran, and they're just bombing the besieged crowd, right? When they see besieged people in their motorbikes or their pickup trucks, the Israeli drones are just uh, killing them. So I don't know if they're dropping the bombs or the drones themselves go and kill them, but there are lots of videos of the bombing of the besieged. And these guys are now so scared that they are hiding under the bridge to avoid the drones. Okay. So, okay, so that's the case with the people. And if you look at the whole command structure, it has been shattered with the regime. Okay, the U.S. and Israel have bombed nearly 20,000 targets in Iran. 20,000. Can you imagine? So that's like all the military buildings, numerous military bases, missile factories, drone factories, police stations, besieged headquarters, political organizations, intelligence organizations, everything is devastated. Okay. So that's why the number of missiles and the drones fired by Iran has dropped by 90%. So they're now firing only about 20 missiles a day and 50 drones a day. That's the max they can do. And these things are hidden in forests and mountains. So they are protected from the drones. So they can sneak in a missile launcher or a drone launcher for 10, 15 minutes outside the forest or the mountain, and then they launch and then they drive back into the forest. So it's very hard to get them. But on the other hand, since they are in forests and mountains, they have only limited number of missiles and drones, and they cannot do this forever, and it's not like so easy for them to get logistical help. And all these command structures now are all acting independently, right? Because the center in Tehran, it's basically blown up, and the commanders and the officers, whoever are left behind, they're so scared to pick up the phone and call any one of these other distributed commanders because they are afraid that the U.S. and or Israel are tapping their phones. They have, hacked into the Iranian telecom system. So they're very afraid to even make a phone call or to send a message. So this means that this whole bunch of people are just completely disorganized and they're just firing missiles wherever they can. And there's no coordination, there's no logic, there's no strategy. So this is why, for example, half of the missiles and the drones fired by Iran are towards the UAE. Okay, why? The UAE has not done anything to Iran. They have not fired a single bullet, but every day, half of the missiles and the drones are fired towards the UAE. And the UAE just knocks them all down. 100% of the drones and the missiles these days, for the last few days, are being knocked down. They're using all kinds of smart techniques. So, for example, they use the Apache helicopters with guns to just shoot down the drones. So they don't need to use the expensive interceptors. And it's such a stupid strategy. Since the war started, the Iranians have fired 320 missiles against the UAE and 1,600 drones. Okay, just imagine 320 valuable missiles and 1,600 drones against a neighboring country which has done nothing to you. Okay, so they do hold the American base. Now, if the Iranians were attacking just the military base, you can say, okay, there is some logic to that. But the Iranians are sending drones and attacking the oil refineries, hotels, uh, the airport, like the Dubai airport has been hit 2 or 3 times, and the oil refineries have been hit, residential buildings have been hit. Not many people have died. That is the good news. Only 7 people in the UAE have died. So just imagine 1,600 drones and 320 missiles to kill 7 people. And whatever damages they have made is not really worth it. So this is why all the Gulf countries now have told Trump, you must finish this job. You must get rid of the regime once and for all. We don't want to ever go through this kind of trauma again. Okay? So Iran has no friends. Okay? Russia is too busy with Ukraine. China is too scared. And actually, China is going to come out very, very bad in this war because the Iranians were using Chinese radars, Chinese missile defense system, Chinese air defense systems, and all of that have been neutralized. Okay, so there's virtually no air defense left for Iran. And they didn't even know, for example, on February 28th, the Israelis were attacking, right? That's how Khamenei and 50 other top leaders were wiped out in the first hour of the war. Why? Because the Chinese system failed. So this is a terrible, terrible news for the Chinese PLA. Uh, so at this stage, if you look at Iran, it has nothing. It has no navy. The U.S. has bombed 60 plus ships and other vessels, so nothing. And Iran doesn't even have the vessels anymore to plant the mines in the Strait of Hormuz. And all they have left is a few suicide boats that drive under the water and they attacked the cargo ships, the oil tankers. So that's very difficult to manage. And I'm sure that the US will figure out a way. It's just a matter of technology. And so the only two leverages that Iran has is the missiles and drones to harass the neighbors and Israel. And number two is the Strait of Hormuz, right? So Trump today has said he's going to liberate the Strait of Hormuz. And one way to do that, I think, is to have a land invasion. Send boatloads of soldiers. First carpet bomb the border along, the land close to the Strait of Hormuz, and then send in boatloads of people, right? It's sort of like D-Day in 1944, the Normandy beaches, but this will be done more sophisticated manner, so you're not going to have like thousands of dead Americans, right? So in Normandy, the Germans had very heavily fortified the beaches, so 2,500 Americans died in just one day on the invasion. So now, if Trump does that, I don't know, maybe 50 people will die, if that, right? So the US has a lot more sophisticated options now. So that's what we are. The missiles and drones, they cause virtually no damage. Iran had a huge propaganda 2 days ago saying, we just launched these new super duper missiles called Sejil. These are like solid fuel propelled missiles, and they travel so fast they can change the path, blah blah blah, and then nothing happened. It's been 2 days. There's no record of any damage, right? And the Israelis are becoming very sophisticated as well. They're using bullets and lasers and all kinds of sophisticated stuff to knock down the drones and the missiles. So basically, virtually no Israeli has died. Maybe like 5 people have died so far since the war began. Uh, and now what's going to happen next is that, like you see videos of the American fighter jets flying very, very low, like visible to the eyes, very low to the ground near strategic seaports in Iran. Uh, so in the next week, I would guess there's going to be a ground invasion of either the Karg Island, through which 95% of Iran's oil exports happen. It's a very small island on the farthest western part of Iran, so that's easy to invade. And I would guess there's going to be a land invasion in the Strait of Hormuz, and maybe in some of the key seaports like Bandahar and Chabahar seaports. And then I don't know when the paratroopers are going to happen in Tehran, okay? But that'll be the culmination. When that happens, you know that it's really, really game over. And then before that, they will probably try to also have a revolution started by the Iranian people, right? So they need some weapons. So somehow the Americans and the Israelis need to send weapons to the people in Tehran, maybe even like, say, pistols, just one pistol with 50 bullets, right? How to sneak it in. I don't know. Maybe they can do a parachute dropping, right? Fill up a huge crate with pistols and bullets and drop them somewhere and somehow send a message to some Iranian people to go get it. right? But the big problem is that the Iranian government has blocked the internet, right? It's down like 99%. And that's why, because the regime is afraid of its own people. And they know that because of all the terrible things they have done to the people over the last 47 years, a lot of people are really looking for vengeance. So they're going to be ready. So we will see how that happens. So that's the summary of day 19, I believe, day 19 or day 18 of the war. So, my prediction, I predicted 1 week before the war that the US will attack. So my prediction now is by the end of this month, by the end of March, there'll be huge ground invasion and the war will be practically over. Let's see if I'm right. Thanks. Bye.